Hello there campers, my name is Paul Hughes, I am the Lord of Leisure, and welcome to, well, King's Cross St Pancras, I guess. Yes, you're probably wondering why I'm bothering to actually do a small video from a train station. It's actually because of this. Basically, if you can see that, there you go. Sony decided to set up a shop at King's Cross to promote the Sony PlayStation VR headset, which got released today in the UK. Now, of course, to be perfectly honest, I didn't actually try it here. I tried it further out in Shoreditch, but because they didn't really have the ginormous headset, I figured why not just stand here at least and just, confuse people standing in the middle talking to my phone, while obviously everyone's going home and doing other things. And actually, if you're quick, they are giving away cupcakes for some inexplicable reason. Who cares? But in any case, I managed to try the PlayStation VR tonight, and got to be honest, it made me a little bit sick. You see, unfortunately, they had a choice of games, and the queue for the vast majority of them were ridiculous. Everyone was pretty much plumping for Batman VR, which is about an hour-long experience from what I gather, and actually created by Rocksteady, basically just for virtual reality. No idea on that, but also the Shit Your Pants-a-thon, that is Resident Evil 7, which is obviously due to come out, don't know, halfway through next year. I don't really know, to be honest, but either way, horror stuff on VR seems to be blowing up pretty big regardless. But the game that I got to play with the time is basically the one with the shortest queue. It was a 3 versus 3 matchup when you're in robots, effectively. It was a game called Rig, and it's a team-based game where, obviously, as I said, you play in robots. It was 3 versus 3 in this particular mode. You got to choose different mechs. Whether or not they made any difference or not, honestly couldn't tell you. There was not too much information about it, how much of a class-based system it was or otherwise, and in essence what you had to do was blow the shit up out of your opponents, go into overdrive and then score goals. And that was it. But the reason why I was sick with this game was because of the fast motion. Most VR games have been engineered right now to be like, you just stand around looking like a plum while various things you attempt to pick up with some shitty controller. But this obviously was a sit-down experience. So you had PlayStation headset, and then just the controller and headphones over. So you can just play this sitting down, and in essence everything was running on normal PlayStation 4s. They wanted to make it abundantly clear that this was everything that was available for hardware that is out now, because obviously the PlayStation Pro is not available until the 10th of November. But in any case, putting on the headset, it was quite comfortable, but at first very blurry. You see basically there, on the giant-sized helmet, just there on the sides there is clips that you basically move the thing in and out, and you have to, because otherwise it stays blurry as anything. It looks very, very low res when you put it right to your face. In essence, it's kind of like, in essence, you can't help but see the jaggies, the blurring, and everything else. So it could take some time getting used to, but certainly once I started moving, that's when it really kicked in, especially in the game Rig. Very colourful and all the rest of that stuff, but it was just moving from side to side. All of a sudden, it seems that my inner ears basically turned around and said fuck off, because that was when I was starting to sway a little bit. It was nowhere near as bad as when I first tried the Oculus Rift, gotta be honest, but nevertheless the feeling of motion sickness was definitely there. Now, probably with other games like Batman, it would be where you're gonna be lightly standing around a little bit more. It's not going to impact as many people, but this certainly took some getting used to. And actually, speaking to the Sony representatives, and this is something that's really odd, they're only making games that I think at most they're going to be 3 hours in length. They're not designed for long term at all, and it seems that you can only really have fun with it in short bursts. So is it going to be just a novelty that will wear off, or is there going to be a killer game, killer app, or otherwise? And well, can we actually put up with it for a long while? Because there are some people that are used to long gaming sessions. You know, pretty much I pissed away an entire weekend just completing Uncharted 4, and then just like, well, sitting around playing with my belly button fluff and other things. So obviously that was massively productive. But for VR, don't know. Honestly, don't know. It's for what it is and what's been released to begin with. I can't say that it's value for money. This is definitely for people who, in essence, have money to burn. I really do mean that, money to burn. But moving on, PlayStation VR wasn't the only thing that they were showing in Shoreditch today. It was actually the PlayStation 4 Pro, as well as an actual demonstration of the differences, with a couple of things like HDR and some blurriness stuff going away. It was between two games, one of which I forget what the name of it is. It's Horizon Frontier, I don't know, but basically it's the game where everyone looks like they're cave people, but in fact they're fighting against metallic dinosaurs for some unknown reason. We have no idea. But in essence, they were showing the difference, that running at 4K and then running at 1080p, along with HDR, obviously, with different types of lighting. Yes, the difference was indeed stark. I mean, pretty much everything at 1080p, especially enlarged on a ridiculously large 75-inch prototype Sony television, it was night and day in terms of difference in fidelity. In terms of performance and so forth, it looks like it was just doing around about 30 frames. It wasn't really built for anything other than just clarity. Now that is definitely what you get if you're going to spend the money on the thing. They showed also Last Light, you know, the what's it called, the one with the neon light thing. I forget what it is. Last Light, First Light. It's with what's her name anyway, where she absorbs neon powers and all the rest of that stuff. They basically showed that upscale from 1080p to 4K. What the hell mode is that? 4K, and then of course adding in HDR and all the rest of it. Again, a massive difference was had, but you'd expect a massive difference to be obvious when that's being shown on a £7,000 prototype television. For people who have already got a PlayStation 4, is the price tag of just upgrading enough for, like, even if they're keeping their existing televisions? Again, after speaking with the Sony people, they've got a little bit more bump in specifications and what have you, but that's kind of it. It came across that if you've got the cash to spend on not only a 4K television, which allegedly that apparently 61% of the UK has, I don't know how, especially if it supports HDR, well, yes, you're going to have the money to get the PlayStation Pro. Even without having a 4K television, the bump up in frame rates, I just can't see it being worth it right now. If there's stuff that really, really does get improved with patches, they're saying they're patching the likes of The Last of Us, Uncharted 4, and obviously that Final Light, First Light game. That was it was actually released on PlayStation Plus. I'm trying to remember what it is. I'll kick myself when I get home, and I'll probably have to put a little name as to what it was and so on. But overall, finally, at least it was decent enough to get an idea of what this thing is actually able to do. And you know, at least fair play to them. They're trying to get people interested in it. I mean, admittedly, it releasing today for a ridiculous amount of money, they want to get people in and interested before Christmas. But is it a novelty too far? I don't know yet. Especially with the fact that it's going to be so short an experience. before you have to put it down or otherwise. Again, it affects people in different ways. The PlayStation 4 Pro, again, coupled with the right television, it looks absolutely gorgeous what they do with games and what have you. But again, substantial enough to get over the existing PlayStation, which of course has had a price reduction. I can't really say. I mean, frankly, it hasn't got my attention right now. It really hasn't. There you go. That's my impressions of the stuff I played with tonight. Obviously, I'm now going to go home and cry and possibly do other things just before various other things this evening. Obviously, thank you very much for watching, campers. If you liked all this malarkey, then by all means you can talk a load of bollocks on various things. Have a look at the website as well, because I'm going to be putting some shit on there at some point. And of course, starting to do a lot more Twitch live streams and things like that. So if anything, you're going to be pretty sick of seeing my face at some point. But for now, campers, from King's Cross Station, ta-da!